Hello everyone. Welcome to the selection event for the 2020 Oregon Citizen Assembly pilot on COVID-19 recovery. Apologies to anybody that was on the video earlier this morning. We had some technical issues. So hopefully those are all ironed out now, and we can get this together and on the way. I'm going to give a little introduction to the Citizen Assembly first, and then go through a couple of slides, and then actually do the selection, which literally takes a couple of minutes. That's it. We're not going to do an alternate selection for this one. We're just selecting half of the panel this time, and we're only selecting 20 of the 40 voters who are going to be on the panel. The other half are going to be selected by random number dialing. And they will be taking care of any alternates. So here's a little background on this Citizen Assembly. It's a pilot project, and it'll be entirely online. Beginning in July, 40 voters from across the state of Oregon will work together to help chart a path beyond the coronavirus pandemic. As the state considers some of its most important policy questions in a generation, we hope that Oregon citizens can have a seat at the table and provide meaningful advice on how to chart a path forward. The assembly will take place over the course of 6 weeks, 2 hours per week on a weekday evening. That's the first portion of the event. There may be future stages of this event after that initial 12 hours, 2 hours times 6 weeks. But for this first portion, which is going to deal with some high-level issues, in addition to digging down on one or two sort of specific issues, it's just going to be 12 hours. The questions presented to the panel are currently being drafted by a number of state legislators, and who will also receive the results of the panel. The assembly, and I'm using those interchangeably, we're calling it a Citizen Assembly pilot, but the Citizen Panel is our standard name for the citizens at the table. So the assembly, or the panel of citizens, will deliberate online in small groups, releasing its first recommendations in late July. The panel's work may continue after that, as I said, and the panelists will earn $600 in a stipend and be accommodated with any internet access or laptop needs. These are 40 Oregonians from all walks of life. I'm going to talk about that more in just a second, and will reflect a microcosm of the state. As I mentioned, we're using two different selection methods to kind of compare and contrast. This is the selection for one half of the demographic targets by mail. And these were folks who had previously responded throughout the last 12 years to mailings that we had sent out related to the Citizens Initiative Review or citizen juries that we've conducted in the past. We used that selection both to save money for this being a pilot project, but also to sort of go back to that group who volunteered previously. These are everyday people. They were randomly selected from the voter rolls at that time, so they're just responding again. The other half will be selected by random digit dialing. That will be done by a marketing firm, and those will be anybody with a phone number in the state of Oregon will have an equal chance of being dialed. All registered voters at the households that receive either a call or received a postcard from us were eligible to apply if they're still registered to vote in the state of Oregon, and the deadline for replying was a couple of days ago. We extended that a little bit because due to COVID, we learned that some parts of the state didn't actually get postcards until just yesterday, and so we extended that a little bit. All right. Here's a little bit more information about the Citizen Assembly. Oh, here's some nice pictures actually from from previous events. Unfortunately, this will be online. But I left the pictures in anyway because, you know, it helps to display what this would be like in person, and we all hope to go back to that again soon. So this is a lottery-based deliberation, as is our custom. The people on the panel are being randomly selected, reflective of the general public, a microcosm of the general public, and this selection, we think, gives it an inherent legitimacy that goes beyond what existing community advisory boards or that kind of thing have. The process itself, once they're in the room or in the virtual room, as the case may be, is highly deliberative, tightly structured, iterative. It's product-oriented. There will be a product even after only 12 hours. It is efficient and effective, and that's based on research, and the process itself is based on research. It's transparent and public, and that includes this selection event today, and we think all of those things contribute to making sure that the outcomes of the event are high-quality policy solutions. The online panel, those folks, as I mentioned, half the panel being selected from 700 to 800 letters sent to previous respondents, half the panel from random telephone numbers, that includes cell numbers, to produce 40 panelists, registered voters from across the state of Oregon, representative of the state on a number of different factors. Geographic location, we've split the state into 5 regions based on the Oregon Consensus regions. That's our partner, or rather Oregon Kitchen Table at Portland State. They're connected. Their regions that they typically use are the regions that we're going to be using: the Portland metro area, the Willamette Valley, and the northern coast together. Southern Oregon, and that includes the coast, Central Oregon, and Eastern Oregon. Age, we've split that into a number of different categories: 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, etc., up to 75 and up. Race and ethnicity, we're using a number of different categories that you'll see when we release this data just in a little while. I'm not going to go through, I guess, the rest of all the categories. Gender, political party affiliation, educational attainment, and whether the person voted in the 2016 election. We have typically used some kind of engagement, political engagement category. We typically use one that measures voter frequency over the last 4 statewide elections, but because we didn't purchase voter rolls as part of this project in order to save costs, being a pilot project, we are using just that one metric, whether someone voted or not in the 2016 election. This is the sort of sequence of events in the assembly itself. This is standard for essentially all of our events. Oh, I see that I didn't change the name of the slide down there. I'm sorry about that. But it's basically the same process. We will only be doing a portion of this, as I said, for that first 12 hours, hearing evidence from a number of different sources, deliberating, and creating criteria. In fact, that's going to be a big part of these first 12 hours, to make any criteria for making any decision in the future. But then digging down onto one particular issue area and prioritizing a number of different recommendations and writing a final report. If you want more information about the Citizen Assembly generally, there's the link to go to, healthydemocracy.org/CA, and you'll find a link on that page to the project page for this project. It gives a little background first on just what a Citizen Assembly is, and then down you'll find the link to this specific project. Our phone number and email, please feel free to reach out to us and get in touch if you have any questions. I just realized I didn't actually introduce myself, I don't think. I'm Lynn Davis. I'm the program manager for Healthy Democracy, and one of the lead designers for this project. So now, let's do the actual selection. How fun. I'm going to switch my screen here to display my whole screen so that you can see the entire process for maximum transparency. Though it's going to do a funny thing at first. All right, there we go. Yep, there's the live streaming software we use. All right, now I'm going to pull up the stratification and selection software. This was designed by an organization from the UK called the Sortition Foundation, who've done a fantastic job designing this really simple software and releasing it to the public as an open source piece of software. So you can go look at the code if you want to. That's what we're using. And they've actually been working with some folks at Carnegie Mellon University just recently to update this software. But this is not the updated version. It still does a great job, though. Much better than our old method of doing this in person over the course of maybe a couple of hours. It takes a list of categories and the different targets within those categories. You'll see released just after this event on our website a list of all those categories, as I mentioned, all the subcategories underneath them, the percentage of the general population in each of those subcategories, and then therefore the sort of targets out of 40, or in our case we're doing half the panel, so out of 20, based on the percent of the population. Then when we get the rest of the panel selected by random digit dialing, we'll add them to that sheet, so there will be a complete list of all the categories, all the percents in the population, all the percents on the panel. We never release the actual identifying information of any person who has volunteered to participate. We in fact keep their privacy secure in perpetuity unless they tell us we can do otherwise. And so you won't see any names on the results here, but you will see sort of code identification numbers that are individuals that will then be contacted right after this event and told that they've won the democracy lottery, as we call it. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to import the category file, and in fact, because why not? Let me show you what these files look like. So here is the complete categories file. This is just half the panel, targets for just half the panel. So that's what it looks like. And these are the respondents, anonymized with a code. I think we'll open my file here. There we go. You can see with all those different categories marked. This is self-reported by them, and then compared against, in most cases, census data. We're using one-year estimates from 2019, and all those details will be released to the public on the project page, which I mentioned before, healthydemocracy.org/CA, or /COVID if you prefer to go directly to the project page. All right, let's go to the selection here. So I've imported the categories. I do the same with the respondents. All right, that's correct. There are 7 total categories that I mentioned before, and 136 respondents in this first stage. As I mentioned, these are folks that responded to the postcard. We're going to select half the panel. That's 20 people. And then all I have to do is click this. I'm going to show the log so that we can look at it down below. Just click Run Selection and see what it does. All right, there we go. It just shows what the categories are first. It then tries it a number of times. So it tried it once, it failed, it tried it a second time, and it was successful. And there it is. Here's the demographics of the final panel. Just scroll through those. Sorry, of this final half of the panel, right there. And we're going to download that document. And I'm going to pull up the document itself so that you can see what the ID numbers are. We also need to look at the ID numbers to see whether there are more than one person from any given household. That's what the -2 and -1 there in the code list are. So you can see there are people that applied from, multiple people from the same household. That's how they got a dash number. But there aren't 2 people from the same household, so I think we're good there. That is 20 people. It seems to have done its work just fine. Had a few issues with the technical side of things earlier today, but it seems to be doing all right. And I think there we go. As I said, this will all be compiled into a complete document that shows the state's demographics and how much is selected during this process and how much during the next phone process and then the final number. So look out for that on the project page. Again, healthydemocracy.org/CA. All right, I think that's it. And we'll also be paying attention to the comments on this YouTube video when the recording of this gets saved in YouTube. So feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions about the process or any comments on how we can do it better. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope to hear from you soon. Take care.